Today, I want to take a minute and talk about a phenomenon that I think applies in many areas in life, and that is the plateau of latent potential. Now, most recently, last night, I got to witness this firsthand. So, a little backstory. Our middle son, Carter, is 14 now, decided to start playing basketball 2 years ago. He had never really played organized basketball before. So he started out, we played at I-9, which is not super competitive, not very structured. We did that for a couple seasons, and he kind of outgrew that. So then we went to the YMCA. He did that for a few seasons, and then he was still, trying to find maybe something a little bit more organized, a little bit more practices, a little bit more competitive. And really, there's no options besides AAU. So we went the AAU route after him only really playing basketball for like a year. He started playing AAU this time last year, not even quite a year ago. But long story short, he played on like a developmental AAU team. He played on that team for, I think it was 3 months, and it was great. But that team was there's typically a couple divisions in AAU, and that team was like a Division 3 team, right? So one of the lower tiers, which is why it's considered a developmental team. But nonetheless, he played hard and he learned a lot about team basketball, got in a lot better shape, etc. But then that ended, and he wanted to keep playing. So we were looking around, and his cousins play for a much more competitive AAU program. They're younger than him, but they're like, hey, why don't you come out and see if he could maybe, play over here. So after only playing basketball really for like a year, he went out and he did a tryout. He made the team. This was last September. He made the team, but they're like, hey, you've got a lot of potential, but you got to put a lot of work in, right? So over the past, 6 months, he's been going to basketball training there with this same program, probably 3 days a week, for a couple hours, and it's skill work, it's shooting, it's there's a lot of work. He's been putting in a lot of work, and he's played in several tournaments, but the tournaments haven't really gone the way that he wanted, right? So he would get in, make a few mistakes, get subbed out, right? Didn't really get that much playing time, wasn't really scoring a whole bunch, not very confident. But he continued to put the work in, right? And then all of a sudden, last night, one of the starting guards wasn't there. So he was in the starting lineup, and he probably had the greatest game that he's ever had, right? I think he might have hit 5 threes. He was playing with a ton of confidence. He was playing great defense. He was hustling. He was getting back and forth. But the key thing here is that this was not a linear progression in terms of output, right? On the surface, if you look at his games, it didn't look like, let's say, he was getting that much better, or that he could at least show that he was getting that much better. Because in the games, the work he was doing in practice was not translating directly into the results that he wanted. So I could see how somebody, especially who's only 14, might give up and say, this isn't for me. Because the results are not immediate. But he kept working. Get to a point like last night, you could just see how excited he was, how excited his teammates were, how excited his coaches were, because he finally had that breakthrough performance, that breakthrough moment where all of that work, that latent potential, was finally able to come through, right? And we saw this with our oldest son too, Aiden, who was an apprentice at a tattoo shop for a year and a half. By far the hardest year he has ever been through emotionally. Professionally, it was just constant, right? Don't get it. You're not at the level you need to be. And then before you know it, keeps putting that work in, and then everything just clicks. And now he's a professional tattoo artist at the age of 20, doing some amazing work. But it was only because he kept putting the work in, even when he didn't see the results that he was looking for immediately. And that has direct application to just about everything. Specifically, in this space, when we're talking about marketing, especially if you're trying to build a brand and you're not just trying to do performance marketing, you are trying to put out content, you're trying to establish a relationship with customers, you're trying to build trust, you're trying to educate. Those things are lagging indicators, right? And James Clear mentions this in his book, Atomic Habits, which I really, really like. But the definition of the plateau of latent potential is basically the time lag between your efforts and achieving the results that you want. So I would just strongly, strongly encourage anybody out there who's working on something and might not be seeing the results that they want, as quickly as they want. Keep going, keep working, keep putting the content out there, keep putting the work in, whatever the case might be. Keep doing it because those results will come. They just won't come as quickly as you might want, but don't let that discourage you. So props to the boys for putting in the hard work. It was a beautiful thing to witness last night. So proud of both of them. And hopefully you can take this and apply it to whatever you're working on, right? Because this same phenomenon, I think, applies in so many areas in life. So hopefully that helps. And until next time, see ya.